Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out after she said I was treating my dog like a servant? I, female 27, recently moved into my new house. I have a golden retriever named Nala, and she's the sweetest. I'm deaf too, and that bit is important. When I moved in, I had a bit of trouble having flashing light doorbells put in, and there was a while I had to go without. My friends and family know to give me a call when they drop by, instead of ringing the doorbell, but unfortunately I have missed many a package this way. For some reason, Nala caught onto this. At one point, she began letting me know when someone was at the door. She'd do this in multiple ways. If I was in the living room where I can see the front door, she'd go and paw at the door. Or if I was upstairs, she'd come and gently headbutt me to let me know someone's there. It took me a while to catch on to what she was trying to do though. And now, even though I have my doorbell installed, she still does it. I did not teach her how to do any of this. She just decided to help me out. Lol. Recently, I brought a friend over for the first time. This is the first time she's met Nala as well. The first thing she comments on is how I named her Nala, because apparently everyone and their grandma names their golden Nala. Well, Lion King was my favorite movie growing up. Sue me. Then I showed her a video of Nala pawing at the door because it got a bit awkward after that comment. It's usually a great icebreaker. She laughed and thought it was cute. I showed her another one and she asked me why Nala was doing that and I explained. She doesn't say anything for a minute and then goes, "So she's basically your servant? Is she just here to get the door?" I was thoroughly done with her judgmental butt by that point, and I just asked her to leave. She left, but she did message me afterwards saying I was rude AF for kicking her out after she traveled all the way to see me, and that how else was she supposed to think of my dog with videos like that? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Maybe you should get Nala to show your friend the door. Yes, not the a-hole. Opie sounds like a great dog owner. The friend is the one that is not knowledgeable about dogs, and it was right to ask her to leave for how they were acting. Not the a-hole. Nala sounds like a wonderful dog. So smart. And you sound like an excellent dog parent. Clearly your friend doesn't know anything about dogs, particularly golden retrievers, to thrive in having jobs to do. Good for you for asking your friend to leave after her rude and judgmental comments. That was my first thought too. She clearly doesn't understand dog psychology. For my interpretation, sounds like the friend needs to learn that not every thought or opinion needs to be voiced. Think my choice of dog name is overrated or cheesy? Fine, but keep it to yourself. Not the a-hole. How else is she supposed to think? How about think that this dog is more than a dog? Somehow this dog realized that its owner had a disability and found a way to help with that. Out of love. This is actually one of the most beautiful things I have ever heard. Your friend trying to turn it into some sort of animal exploitation story is twisted and awful. It speaks volumes that she would immediately go there, as opposed to seeing the sweet animal as anything other than a caring friend. Actually kind of gross. Many dogs love having jobs and interacting with their owners. Other animals do too. I tend to notice that some people who don't have animals in their lives often don't understand that animals not only like doing stuff for, /with, /alongside humans, animals even seek humans out. They just jump to cruelty, animal mistreatment, slavery, immediately without evidence. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling her I'd never choose her over my dog? I got a dog 2 years ago. She's a perfect corgi mix. Super loving, and is always happy to see me. But she has issues that my fiancé of 6 years has never been able to get over, such as resource guarding and anxiety. My dog whines more often than not. Like if I leave the room, she whines. If I walk out to leave, she will bolt out at the door going 110 miles per hour and whine at the car door because she doesn't want me to leave without her. She never bonded with my fiancé. She absolutely tried, but my dog never cared, to be blunt. She's a one-person dog, and I'm her person. Now, the issue is that my fiancé recently found out that she's pregnant. We were told this was impossible and had planned our life out not involving children because we were seriously told by numerous doctors that she could not conceive. She's absolutely terrified. Well, I'm completely indifferent because I was on the fence about kids anyways. And then I was told she couldn't have any, so I was expecting a kid-free life and was fine with it. I mean, we are freaking 30 already. But regardless, there is a piece of me that is stupid excited. So I'm sure my mind will eventually be full-on excited versus kind of put off. The issue is that my wife doesn't want my dog around a baby because of the dog's resource guarding. There are some days where my fiancé can't even get close to me without my dog losing her mind. And she does nip, herding mix. Not hard, but still nips. Yes, she's been in and out of training. She's also in meds for anxiety. Nothing has helped, and if anything, she has regressed. So she doesn't want the dog around our baby. A part of me understands, but a much, much bigger part of me is completely unwilling to let go of my dog, who my fiancé doesn't like anyways. It almost feels like she thinks this is her excuse to get rid of my dog. So anyways, we got into a heated argument about it and I finally snapped and said, I would never freaking choose you over my dog. And I left. Stayed at a hotel for a few days and we didn't speak. I came back today with my dog and she won't even look at me. The second me or the dog walk anywhere near her, she makes a point to walk in the opposite direction. My friends are on my side, but I want unbiased feedback. Yordi A-hole. Wow, man. Your fiancé was in your life before the dog was. And in theory, it will be after the dog is ashes and dust. The dog is poorly trained and likely to be unsafe around children. And you're choosing the dog over your future wife? WTF. You'd almost have a point if the dog was in your life first. But there was zero chance I'm staying with someone who tells me that they'd take our new pet over me. No, it is not relevant whether the dog was there first. If you have a dog that resource guards to the point where the fiancé risks getting bit by going near him, you get rid of the dog before the baby comes. End of story. Yordi A-hole. This is coming from someone who really dislikes babies. Your dog guarding you from your wife will quickly turn into your dog guarding you from your child. Think about how that will make your child feel. Terrified that a dog who nips their heels will keep them away from their father. That will hamper your relationship with your child. You made your stance clear though. I hope she's either preparing to become a single mother or calling the nearest abortion clinic. You won't be an equal parent, as you're unable to think about the child's needs. Does anyone else get the sense that OP is likely foster this guarding behavior? All the training in the world doesn't mean anything if it's not consistently followed through at home. And OP seems like he enjoys being his dog's only person. Yordi A-hole. All around a post hurt my stomach. As someone who just got engaged, if my fiancé said anything like this to me, I'd not only be crushed, but I'd consider this the end of the relationship. Yordi A-hole. Why are you with someone you clearly don't even like at a basic level? Your dog will attack your child if you don't do something. What the actual heck is wrong with you? That you don't care that your dog might off your kid? My dog is not going to off the kid. That's dramatic. Dogs have offed children all the time. And yes, the dog can. You aren't taking this seriously. You rather lose fiancé and a child over a dog. Listen, I love my dogs, and I will put myself at risk for them, but never a child. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband and in-laws that our children do not need to attend their older sister's housewarming party? My husband and I have 3 biological children together. He adopted my child from a prior relationship, and I am a stepmother to his adult child. My husband was divorced from my stepdaughter's mom. She was 8 when my husband and I became serious, and my son was still a baby. Not long after my stepdaughter's mom died, my husband and I had talked about marrying before she died, and we delayed it for a couple of years to allow my stepdaughter time to grieve and adjust to the changes in her life. This was with the help of therapy, of course, as we knew a child who lost someone so close would need extra help. Now my stepdaughter is 20, my son is 12, and our children together are 7, 6, and 4. So what happened here is my stepdaughter and her boyfriend recently moved into a house together. She asked for help setting up their dining room, and we all went over to help her. Her house was covered in photos. The landing had them, living room, kitchen, etc. There was not a single photo of her siblings in the house, or me. But it was not seeing one of the kids that led to this. She had her parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, her cousins, and friends, but there was no sign of the kids anywhere. All of the photos with her dad were older ones from before we met. My 12-year-old, 7 and 6-year-olds noticed too, because they were excited to look around her house. I also couldn't help but notice, because her boyfriend had so many of his siblings, and because there were some of what felt like deliberate choices to make sure she used photos that didn't contain her siblings, including extended family photos from years ago with my husband's side that were taken before her dad and I met. And we know she has photos with her siblings. I always knew she was super crazy about her siblings. I always hoped as she got older she would feel love for them. But it feels like she doesn't think of them as family or as special enough to be included. The 3 kids who noticed were hurt. My husband tried to assure them it was likely an oversight on her part, and he called her the next day to ask, and she said she had only wanted photos with people she considered family, and she didn't consider us family. We were all invited to her housewarming party, but the kids did not want to go. My husband and in-laws were shocked and said they had to go, of course. I argued that they didn't, and I told them I would stay home with them. They argued back to me that the kids needed to be. I said that they did not need to be there, and I wouldn't force them to go when they already feel hurt. My husband and in-laws think I'm unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your stepdaughter likely doesn't even want them there. She flat out stated that she doesn't consider them family. I'm sure that's not what your husband wants to hear, but you can't force a relationship. Yeah, I feel like this is an invitation out of obligation, and she's expecting them to refuse to attend due to what happened. Either that or it's a gift grab. Either way, OP's not the a-hole. Stepdaughter can put up whatever pictures she wants in her house, but her manner of explaining it was rude as heck. It being a gift grab makes no sense. Since her dad is still going, she's getting the same amount of presents if her stepmom and half-siblings go or not. Agreed. Likely she is just being polite so her dad will come. Not the a-hole. She clearly told him she doesn't consider the kids family. She's not changing her mind. Making it so the kids are optional, rather than forcing them together at the expense of the younger kids, is going to be better for everyone's relationships. Not the a-hole. But to be very clear, this isn't a judgment on your stepdaughter's decisions regarding her photos, but it's a judgment on your choice to stay home with your children. They should not have to go be subjected to her overt display of her feelings to exclude them from her definition of family. No one should have to be subjected to that. The little ones have the right to make their decisions just as she has. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my future sister-in-law that I don't have time to be her maid of honor? I, 25 female, have been married to my husband, 29 male, for a few years now. He has a younger brother who recently got engaged. I have known his brother's girlfriend for 4 years, but we're not extremely close, though we hang out whenever there's a family get-together. Anyways, for a bridal party, she asked me to be the maid of honor. She has 4 other bridesmaids, composed of cousins and old school friends. I told her that I'm very grateful that she has asked me, but unfortunately, I don't have the time to do all the things expected of a maid of honor. I just had my first baby in November, and it's a lot, and she has expressed wanting a bridal shower, bachelorette party, etc. I told her I can just be a regular bridesmaid. She seemed fine, but afterwards, my husband told me that she was venting to my brother and telling him that I'm being cold to her. According to her, she thinks I'm lying by saying I'm too busy because I'm on maternity leave and that I have all the time in the world, while all her other friends work full-time. My husband agrees with me, but his brother called me said I should try to be accommodating to her. I reconsidered, and I told her that I would be her maid of honor if she covers half of the responsibilities, like planning the bachelorette party. He said he would get back to me. The next day, she calls me and asks me why I'm being so difficult. She says I'm the only one at the bridal party not working, and that I should step up. I told her again that I'm on maternity leave taking care of a baby, and it is actually even more demanding than full-time work. She ended the call quite upset. Am I the a-hole for not being accommodating enough? 1. Maternity leave is not a vacation, and she's delusional to think it is. 2. Even if you were on vacation, why would you give up your free time to run errands for her? She's entirely too entitled. 3. She's asked someone she's not even close to be her maid of honor, based strictly on perceived availability. She's either clueless or friendless, but probably both. I hate that people pick bridesmaids and maid of honors just to make them work and plan everything extra and pay all this extra. My mom and sister ran my bridal shower, so my mom paid. Even still, it wasn't that fancy. My bachelorette was karaoke and dancing and getting manicures. Everyone able to make it paid for themselves. Karaoke was at a Chili's level restaurant. A couple of them helped me dress shop, but only if they were available and interested. One of my closest friend only did stuff on the wedding day because the rest gave her anxiety. These people are celebrating with you, but also doing you a favor. The wedding alone is enough obligation. Not the a-hole. I hate when people treat maternity leave like a vacation. This is what happens in a society that doesn't appreciate parenthood. Exactly. Not the a-hole. I'm a guy who took a few weeks off after each birth of my children. In those weeks, I would do everything except the feeding. And it's hard work, though very satisfying. That, combined with lack of sleep, and for a mom, also a body that went through a lot, it's hard. And I don't envy the new moms. Not the a-hole. If I was you, I would post a question of why she's being so insistent. As you said, you are cordial at family gatherings, but you aren't exactly besties. And a maid of honor needs to be someone that not only has the time to be invested in the wedding, but someone that is invested in the bride as well, as the entire point of the maid of honor is to make everything as smooth for the bride as possible. Was she your maid of honor or something? I just can't wrap my mind in why she would want someone that has a cordial relationship with to fill such a big role. She started dating my husband's brother after I got married, so she didn't play a role in my wedding. I think she asked me to be maid of honor for 2 reasons. 1, I'm on maternity leave, and 2, my husband and I probably earn a bit more than her other friends, so we can contribute more financially to her bridal events. Am I the a-hole? I kicked my husband's sister and her daughter out of my mother's funeral. My mother passed 20 days ago. I'm a mess. I can barely keep up with work, as well as taking care of my younger sisters who are heavily grieving. Before I talk about what went down at the funeral, I'll talk about my husband's older sister, 44. She's like a mother to him. His mother died when he was 8, so his sister basically raised him. Me and her don't agree on many things. She can be disrespectful and rude. She tries to boss me around and gets involved in my marriage a lot. She has a daughter, niece, that she uses her trains to do nasty things to me. Like when she had her daughter ruin my car paint, or when she had her hide my jewelry, or when she caused me an argument with my husband by lying, saying I banned her from her uncle's house. She's 17, so at this point, she's not a kid, and should be aware of what her mother's doing. But they both equally disrespect me, so I'm not surprised. My sister-in-law came to mother's funeral, and brought her daughter who was wearing an inappropriate outfit, and kept acting mean while me and my sisters were crying. I remember sister-in-law was sitting, loudly laughing with her daughter and playing with their phones, and then both started eating during the burial service. I was getting mad, but I ignored them. Until my niece's phone started playing the ding dong, the witch is dead. My sisters heard it several times. I walked up to her to ask about it, and she said it was just a ringtone. I asked her if she thought this was appropriate, but my sister-in-law got involved and told me it was no big deal, then asked me for a charger so they could finish the video they were watching. I kid you not, I absolutely lost it in them both. I yelled at my sister-in-law to take her daughter and leave. My brother-in-law, her husband, came to talk to me, but I blatantly told him to take his family and leave. And where's my husband? Sitting watching while I argue with almost his entire family, as they tried to get me to let it go. I refused to let them stay for a minute, and demanded they leave or get security involved. That's when my husband got involved, so I told him he could leave too if he kept defending them. They left, and everyone was watching. I felt so awful. And when I returned to my mother's house, my husband started arguing, saying that his niece is a kid, and whatever she did, I should have discussed the issue privately, not make a joke out of them and kicking his sister out, then threatened to kick him out as well, in front of everyone. He said I was looking for an excuse to disrespect his sister and his niece, and what better excuse than my mother's funeral, right? That's what he said. He said I was at fault here to think that I could mistreat his sister and niece and kick them out, then expect to get a free pass because my mother is dead. Basically claiming I messed up and ruined my own mother's funeral. He called me a piece of work, then headed out. That's all that's happened. The family apologized on their behalf. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Get rid of the husband. This is the correct answer. He allowed them to mistreat you at your mother's funeral. He sucks. Yep. This is totally where I'm at too. How many of the niece's 17 years had she been pulling this disrespectful crap on you, and is still blaming you for not rolling over and taking it? No, not the a-hole. Your husband is the a-hole and weak as hell. His family are a-holes. Go to just no significant other and just no family. They have advice for dealing with crappy people. Also, ban them from your house indefinitely. That's a boundary you need to stick to. Hubby can see them somewhere else. That's just gross they would do that. I hope your hubby is sleeping on the couch. He sucks big time. What a loser. I hope he's sleeping on his sister's couch. Permanently. Not today, Hall. My blood went cold with rage at the thought of that ringtone playing at the funeral. I'm so incredibly sorry for the loss of your mother and your husband's nightmare of a family ruining it. Thankfully, your mother's love and legacy will continue to live on untarnished in her children. But it may be time to kick husband to the curb. This. Hate to add to Opie's loss and mourning, but time to add hubby to the list of lost ones. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not opening up my home for my friend? I, 30 female, met Cassie, 30 female, fake name, when I was 7 years old and we became thick friends soon. I grew up in a very abusive Indian home with helicopter parents and was kicked out when I was 20 because I came home after curfew, 7 p.m. For non-Indians, it is unusual to work while in college and to stay away from home until you're married. I asked Cassie, who at the time was living alone in an apartment that her parents own, if I can move in with her for the time being. And she said, sorry, no, I want to experience living alone. I felt very hurt at the time and ended up couch surfing at some friends' homes and later moved in with my then boyfriend. Present situation. We don't talk much, just text each other sometimes. I live with my boyfriend in a 2-bedroom house with our dog, and she got married at 25 and is now 7 months pregnant. Her husband kicked her out for infidelity, and turns out the baby is not his. She has no place to go and asked me if she can stay for a while. The thing is, she doesn't work, is 7 months pregnant, and I don't know how long she'll stay as she can't tell her family back in India that she's getting divorced. Plus, I feel very salty about how she treated me back then. I said no, that it's not a very good idea, and she started screaming saying that she's pregnant, and I'm heartless. I hung up on her. Not today, Hall, considering how she treated you when you needed a home. Plus, it's on her for cheating on her husband. I wouldn't let that kind of drama in my house either, personally. And if the OP lets her stay, she'll probably never get rid of her and a child. In fact, she'll be left paying for the baby. Since she is a cheater, I wouldn't be surprised if she tried to cheat with OP's husband. Not today, Hall. She wasn't a friend when you needed one, so she isn't a friend. Not today, Hall. Just tell her you want the experience of living with your boyfriend. It's not fair that you should take the responsibility for another 2 people. Also, where's the baby daddy? Why can't you live with him? Can't live with baby daddy when you're single and ready to mingle until he finds out about your husband. Then no husband and no baby daddy. Not today, Hall. You don't owe her anything. It was your friend who made life-changing and irresponsible decisions that caused her life to spiral. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for still not letting my sister into my house after she made me miss daughter's birth? Frankly, I don't know if I'm being an a-hole. Family seems to think I am, so just want to know what others here think. My sister, 25 female, was going to meet her dad. Not my dad, by the way. For the first time in almost 18/19 years, and she was really nervous. She asked me to go with her for support. He was staying at some hotel about 30 minutes away, and the whole ride over there, my sister had my phone to give me directions. My wife was calling me because she'd gone into labor. Then my mother-in-law was calling me too. My sister put my phone on Do Not Disturb without me knowing, and erased the notifications. I didn't even realize it until after we were leaving from having lunch with him an hour and a half later that my wife's been calling me. All my sister told me was I had a missed call, more like dozens. When I found out, I was yelling at her the whole ride to the hospital. She apologized many times. Her only excuse was this was a big emotional moment for her meeting her dad, and she was scared doing it alone knowing how her anxiety is. This was the only time they'd have to see each other since he was leaving in a few days and wouldn't be back for months. I really couldn't believe it. By the time we got there, my daughter had already been born a half hour. Don't get me wrong, I was so happy to know my daughter and wife were okay. But I was also devastated to have missed the birth of my first child. I couldn't look at my sister. All I told her was to get an Uber to take her home because I didn't want her near me right now. My daughter's almost 4 weeks old and almost everyone, vaccinated, has come to see her. Last weekend, my parents came over with my sister in the car, but I said I don't want her in my home right now. They got mad and left early. I keep hearing it from my family that I'm being completely unfair, treating my sister like an outcast but not letting her in my home. But I'm just still angry at her right now, and I don't think I have it in me to be in her presence. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She knew exactly what she was doing. She made you miss something once in a lifetime, and I can't imagine how important that must have been for you. And the fact she did it to go see her deadbeat father. That's tragic and ironic. And your parents can't even see it your way a little, it seems. You have every right to be furious. Her defense was she thought my wife would have been in labor for hours, or at least hoped she would, long enough for us to do both. I'm so furious. And it never occurred to her that you would want to be with your wife during labor? She's just trying to make excuses for her awful behavior. Not the a-hole. I think Opie should ask his family how he's supposed to feel if something had gone wrong and he was sat at lunch somewhere. Thank goodness that it sounds like the birth was quick and straightforward, but it could so easily not have happened like that. It sounds like the family need to stop and take a moment to actually think through the gravity of what happened before demanding that Opie just move on because family. Not the a-hole. You know what else is a big emotional moment? The birth of your child. She didn't have the right to prioritize meeting her dad over you being present for a huge moment in your life. You can choose how to respond to that. They don't get to manage how you feel. A moment that Opie could only go through one time. Sister's dad wouldn't be back for months, sure, but he'd be back at some point, and she could see him then. Opie can't be there to see the birth of his first child twice. Not the a-hole. She didn't just make you miss the birth of your baby. She's personally responsible for your wife being denied the comfort of having her partner by her side during labor and delivery. Birth is still potentially deadly for both mothers and babies, and your sister risks your wife's and daughter's health and lives by interfering in your ability to be contacted. The fact that your family's sticking up for her makes me think she's got some sort of spoiled princess complex and will likely never apologize. And if she doesn't, your relationship with her is probably not salvageable. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying no to my sister and her family staying with us until their house is safe to return to? My sister and her family had to leave their house because of a mold and bedbug issue. House is getting worked on. They need 6 weeks. She asked me the day before, like the day they found out about the second issue, if they could stay with me and my husband for 6 weeks. I said no. I knew it would cause blowback, but honestly, wasn't really expecting my parents to be so pissed. My sister was angry too. But the truth is, I could not live with her again. She gets on my nerves, and I never truthfully liked her as a person. I love her, but prefer not to be around her much. She's bossy as hell and loves to get her own way, sometimes not even communicating something that she's planning so you can't say no, or does something she wants knowing you won't want it and doesn't consider other people's taste. And I just know I would not be able to live with her again. When I moved out, it was such a relief to have space from her. And I know that I get more annoyed with her when we see each other more often. 2 years ago, we went on a family vacation. Me and my husband and kids, my sister, her husband and their kids, and our parents. And my sister decided, despite me and my husband saying no, to book everyone into this restaurant for a meal, and then complained when we didn't show up, which led to a fight where I told her I didn't care if she lost money. I told her I didn't like the food, and she was told clearly that we were not going. Looking back, I regret going, but I was hoping and trying to have things be better. But they weren't. Anyway, my parents are helping her pay for a hotel, but everyone is calling me an a-hole for not helping her, but especially her kids. Especially when I already know how long it will be for. My sister told me to screw myself, and my parents said they were ashamed of me. Our parents live out of state, hence them not staying here. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole at the word bedbug. Indeed. I wouldn't even let any of them in the door. Their stuff is likely infested. This. I stayed at a hotel for 6 days for a company-sponsored event out of state. I had all of these scratchy bleeding welts and identified them as bedbugs. I was livid, and my bites were horribly itchy. When I got home, my wife didn't even let me enter the house. I stripped down to underwear and my clothing went straight into the washing machine, washed each load twice and tried to kill everything. Kept the suitcase outdoors in the shed for 6 months. Don't mess around with bed bugs. They itch worse than mosquitoes and are expensive to remediate. Not today, Hole. Even without the issues between the two of you, having their belongings in your home puts you at risk of getting a bed bug infestation. I wouldn't let them near me till they're bed bug free, to be honest. And tell your sister that she can bring her bed bugs and mold spores to a hotel, instead of bringing them to your house where they can start a fresh infestation. That, combined with a hostile relationship, is guaranteed to have you regretting this on the first day, and as you pay for pest control and mold remediation after they leave. Additionally, if there is such a problem with their house that requires them to be out for 6 weeks, what is their homeowner's insurance doing about this? My insurance will temporarily house me in a short-term rental in such an event. Why do they need to come stay with you? Don't set yourself on fire to keep your sister warm. Not today, Hole. Not today, Hole. Sounds like bedbugs and mold weren't the only toxic pests in that house. If your parents love her so much, they can house her in their state. The fact that they've decided to put her up in a hotel instead says it all. Not really. They live in another state, so can't let them stay. Her husband would be away from his job, the kids away from their school. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my son and his wife out after they took my daughter's room? I'm a single mom of 2, Dale 22 and Kim 15. My late husband passed away when Kim was 10. It was too much because it's hard being a single mom. Everyone in my life has never stood by me, and where I'm from, society tends to be harsh on single moms. I always felt much stress with all the responsibilities, and everyone expecting me to give up. There were many times when I felt like a failure, and I never want to be seen as a failure in my children's eyes. I want them to look up to me, learn from my experiences, and learn to stand by themselves and be strong. Kim is the apple of my eye. She went through so much, and I tend to be overprotective of her, as they say. I was with someone, a police officer, who was nice to me, but once I noticed how poorly he treated Kim, I told him to leave immediately. I decided to focus on Kim. Dale and his wife are expecting. He's been unemployed for months, and they left their rental apartment and moved in with us temporarily. However, his wife started disrespecting Kim's privacy, walking into her room, constantly taking her things and ruining them. They brought boxes of baby stuff and stored them in Kim's room. I told her to move the boxes to the storage room, but Dale made excuses that the stuff might get damaged. Dale and his wife talked about staying for a few more months. She's 8 months pregnant, till after the baby is a few months old. His wife suggested that my daughter move into my room and they take her room and turn it into a nursery. I said no, and it's not up for discussion. Dale understood, but his wife didn't like it. Kim came to me saying Dale's wife is trying to convince her to give her room to her nephew. So I told Dale's wife firmly to stop annoying Kim. Yesterday, I came home and found Dale moving Kim's stuff out of her room, replacing it with her baby stuff. Kim was in the living room waiting for me and she was crying. I was livid. Dale's wife made her a sandwich to calm her down. I saw Kim's room. Her bed was moved. Her favorite posters, her closet and graphic art, some were put there by her dad, and I confronted them. Dale said it was his wife's idea and told him she'll work it out with me later. I got into an argument with her. I lashed out at her after she said Kim can take the storage room. I told them to leave immediately. They argued for an hour, then left. Then, my mom and sister called me in the evening, asking how I could kick my own son out, and told me to let them move back in. I refused, and now they're calling me bad mom, saying I'm playing favorites. Dale's wife talked about putting the nursery together and taking pictures of it to share on a Facebook page for everyone to see. That's what Dale told me, which made me feel upset, to be honest. Now for the top comments. Dale and his wife could easily have shared their room with a baby for a few months. You and your daughter were already making a great sacrifice sharing a home with a newborn. That wasn't good enough. They think that everybody should have to sacrifice for their child, but that is not how the world works. You have a responsibility to protect your daughter and make decisions in her best interest. That is what you did here. You are not an a-hole. You are a wonderful mother who was forced to make a painful decision to protect her child. Well done. I suggested that, but Dale's wife didn't like it. I understand that they're struggling. But this has been Kim's room since she was little. It's her safe place. She has a lot of memories with her dad in it. The posters they removed were put there by her and her dad. So these are her childhood memories they ruined. It's not okay to do that. Not at A-Hole. If your mom and your sister feel you were wrong, then maybe they can open up their home to Dale and his wife. What about wife's family? Maybe they can open their home up to them? You were and are protecting your child, Kim. This isn't the first time they call me a bad mom. Soon as my late husband passed away, my own family criticized me and put a lot of pressure on me. My daughter is my priority. It's my duty as her only parent to protect her. Not an a-hole. Full stop, no question. Your adult son and his wife bullied a teenage girl and completely disregarded your authority. You had far more patience with either of them than I likely would have had after the wife began intruding on Kim's privacy and trying to push her out of her room. Your son is an adult, and so is his wife. They've had months to comfortably try to look for a new home and, for Dale, new work. Instead, they've been trying to take over and shirk their responsibilities as adults and soon-to-be parents. You cannot take them back in. That will never work out, and will send the message to your daughter that you don't care about what they've been doing to her. As for your other family trying to berate you for this decision, tell them if they are so concerned about your son and his wife, they can take the two in and care for them, plus the baby. Otherwise, ignore them and focus on raising your daughter. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister see her kids? I have a full custody of my nephew, 10, and niece, 9. I have recently decided it would be best for her children not to see her, due to the last visit they had together where she came to visit her children, hi, and her children could barely recognize her. They didn't even want to give her a hug, and when I was driving them home, my nephew said, "That wasn't my mom. She kinda looks like her, but she acts, looks, and smells different." I asked them if they'd want to see her again, and both of them said, maybe when she gets better. Now, I'm young in my early 20s with no children of my own, and I honestly worked my butt off to get custody of their children, which was harder because everyone thought I was too young. I made it my goal to protect them and put them before my husband, myself, and everything else. As much as it hurts me to send my sister a message saying she's no longer allowed around her children until she's off substances, I felt like I had to do it for my niece and nephew. She sent me a message saying I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still young, and I'm trying to steal her children from her, that I'm jealous of her and all types of stuff like that. My mom thinks that I'm not doing the right thing, that the children deserve a connection with their mom, and that seeing the children will help my sister as well, and that my sister is trying her best, that I made things worse for her. I'm honestly not sure if I made a mistake. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister to see her children? Now for the top judgment. Not an a-hole. Those kids are not your sister's support animals. She can see them when she's in a condition the kids will not be frightened or put off by. OMG, I love this. If she's changed so much that her own kids barely recognize her and don't want to hug her, after not seeing her for however long, that speaks for itself. They don't owe her anything for being brought into the world. Your mom can kick rocks too. That's a crazy way of thinking. Your sister couldn't care less about her kids, or she wouldn't be getting worse. She'd be moving mountains to get clean and get them back. I'd be going low contact with mom and setting boundaries with your sister. You're not an a-hole. You're the best thing that could have happened to them. Your mom would be putting those poor kids through hell helping your sister. Not an a-hole. Generally, when an addict tells you you're an a-hole for not giving them what they want, the addict is spouting nonsense. She's had her children removed by CPS, and is now telling you that you're jealous and don't know what you're doing? My mom thinks that I'm not doing the right thing, that the children deserve a connection with their mom, and that seeing the children will help my sister as well, and that my sister is trying her best, that I made things worse for her. The children deserve a connection with a healthy, stable mother. They do not deserve to be exposed to a mother who is constantly high, and they do not deserve to be used as tools to help an adult woman recover. Not to mention, the children have already voiced their opinion. That doesn't get bulldozed so that they can be used as pawns to help your sister. Your mom is very much wrong. Seeing their mom on substances will only harm the kids that you fought so hard to get custody of to protect. You're not an a-hole. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my coworker my partner is not her child's father? I'm 29 male, my partner is 25 male, and my coworker is about 22 female. My coworker, who I'll call Tiffany, is one of those likable but flaky people. She's nice, but she's a bit of an airhead. Tiffany got unexpectedly pregnant a year before we started working together, and the father is not involved. I know this because she tends to make vent posts on social media that are open to anyone who's following her. She posts a lot about issues with her kid because her kid has a disability. My partner loves kids. He's a social worker, and he raised his siblings growing up. I think his ideal family would be the Brady Bunch. I don't want kids, so we compromised by getting a dog. He saw one of her posts about 3 years ago and DM'd her telling her that he's helped kids with her kid's disability, and he'd be happy to give her some advice. Since then, he's been very involved with her and her kid's life. Pre-quarantine, he would go over all the time and help out, and stay on the phone with her when she was having a crisis. I never had any problem with it because her kid has a lot of issues, and I know Tiffany was drowning in it. I also want to say I've never been jealous at all because although my partner also likes women, he's bisexual, he's just like this. Anyway, during quarantine, the relationship has started to annoy me more. Tiffany and her kid will FaceTime my partner while we're watching a movie, so he can tell the kid a bedtime story. He'll tell me that he misses seeing Tiffany and the kid because they're like family to him. When we finally went back to work yesterday, Tiffany told me how much her child misses my partner, and how all the things he's been doing for them have been really getting them through the hard times. I agreed that what my partner was doing was nice, but then I told her that if her kid is missing him, their relationship is starting to get unhealthy. My partner is not your child's father, and he shouldn't be taking that place in their life. I told my partner, and he said I was being a jerk. He said that the kid could only benefit from having a good male role model, and if the kid sees him as a father figure, there's nothing wrong with that. He also apologized to Tiffany. I don't really see where what I did was wrong, as creating boundaries is important. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Yikes. This seems to be about way more than just Tiffany and her kid. Your husband wants kids and you don't, so you compromised by getting a dog? If your husband wants kids, he's never going to stop wanting them, and it will probably lead to him resenting you. You guys aren't on the same page at all. Edit. Forgot to add a judgment. At this point, I'd say you're the a-hole. Yeah, this is what I was thinking the entire time reading. Soon as I saw, so he compromised by getting a dog. Lol, not how that works. Here's the thing. A compromise for someone who wants a lot of children is not dogs. Lol. He wants children. You don't. He's getting fulfilled from Tiffany and her kid. Not with you and your dog. I don't see your relationship lasting. Look long and deep at this. You're the a-hole. Yeah, I predict that Opie's partner will end up as Tiffany's husband. Not the a-hole for wanting boundaries, but I have a feeling your relationship is going to fail. Your partner wants kids, and having a dog is not going to fix that. The fact that he is so easily getting attached to someone else's kid is a sign that he's not going to be happy with a childless relationship for the rest of his life. It baffles me how couples can disagree on something as huge as having children and still think their relationship will work. If you want a stable relationship, you need to agree on 3 things: money, intimacy, and kids. You two need to sit down and have a long talk. Just jumping in to say, I don't think that's necessarily true. A lot of child-free people form affectionate bonds with other people's children, either relatives, friends, or, as in this case, kids in need of care that they're in a position to provide. It doesn't necessarily indicate dissatisfaction with their childlessness. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to accommodate my niece's vegan diet? My sister and her husband both lost their jobs, and as we had the space, we allowed them to move in with us. We have 2 daughters who are both vegan. Now, my wife and I have 4 children. Our 2 older girls are very sweet, and our boys both have autism. We essentially work our daily lives around them to make them more comfortable. As such, our meal plans are relatively simple. Some of the only foods they will both eat is chicken and cheese, so every meal we eat has at least one of those components. Of course, neither of these items are vegan. Our nieces both complain, and as we need meal time to be relatively stress-free for the boys, it's caused some problems. On top of this, we also have 4 dogs, 1 family dog, 1 dog who is a trained autism service dog, and our oldest daughter adopted 2 dogs at the beginning of April last year. Our oldest is doing an animal welfare course at college and plans on becoming a vet/dietitian. She explained the benefits of raw food, and as such, she prepares all 4 dog meals in the morning and refrigerates their evening meals. We don't force her. She chooses to do the other 2 dogs because she wants to get it perfect for them. Anyway, our 2 nieces are complaining about never being able to eat because there's always meat around. They refuse to eat at mealtimes because we serve meat and dairy. I explained that we aren't going to upturn meal plans we've had in place for years just for them. They could either deal with it or make their own food. They're both on hunger strikes, but I don't think I'm in the wrong. I offered to serve the sides, which are generally vegan, in larger portions for them, but cooking several different meals is not something I want to go back to. My sister is staying out of it, and her husband is just happy he's finally getting to eat meat again. My wife thinks I'm being harsh, but when I suggested she take over cooking, she suddenly agreed with me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. There are lots of options open to them. They can cook. Their parents can cook. They can eat packet food that doesn't require cooking. It's not on you to do all that work for them. I also appreciate that when you've got kids with very specific food needs, it's way too much to try and vary that to add in another diet. It's on your sister and her husband to find a solution that works for their daughters, but also for you. It's on your sister and her husband to find a solution that works for their daughters, but also for you. Yes, the bit about the sister staying out of it is ridiculous. Rope her into it. Info. Wait, your sister and her husband are both unemployed. Why are they not making vegan meals for their own daughters? Why does living with you have to mean that you also cook for them? And how old are the daughters anyway? I'm not sure. It's just sort of the way things panned out. And they're 17 and 15. Not a hole. My sister is staying out of it, aka my sister is refusing to cook the food I buy for her kids who have dietary preferences, or is refusing to tell her kids to make their own dinners. Are you kidding me with this? Jesus! My kids have been making their own meals since 6. Lol. If they don't like what I made for family dinner, they're more than welcome to make whatever they want with the items I have in the house. Your sister and her family are seriously ungrateful. Right? I was a picky eater, and if I didn't like dinner, I could just make peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever else. I was doing that in the 1st grade. The teenagers can make their own meals, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother and his wife out of my mother's funeral? I, female 31, lost my mother 3 weeks ago to cancer. It was devastating to say the least. I've already lost my dad and my older brother, and I was the only one to care for my mother, although I have a younger brother who now lives towns away with his wife and son. The issue started when my brother and his wife were struggling with rent. My mother agreed to let them move into my deceased brother's home under one condition, and that is to not throw away any furniture, or try to make changes to the house since they were going to stay temporarily. My brother and wife agreed to this condition. But a month later, my mom started missing my deceased brother's stuff. His stuffs were thrown away. Furniture as well, and my brother's wife changed how the rooms look, claiming the decoration wasn't her style. My mom told them to stop, but my brother's wife got into an argument with her, and when my mom told them to leave, brother's wife spread rumors that my mom kicked her out when she was pregnant. No one knew, not even mom, and turned the family against me and mom. My brother and his wife cut contact. A few months later, my mom reached out, sent letters, and wanted to work it out. But my brother's wife blocked her and called her awful names. She later gave birth to a boy, and we didn't know till we saw a post on Facebook by coincidence. My mom was sick at the time, so she invited them. But sister-in-law refused to let my mom meet her grandbaby. Sent gifts, but were returned later. My mom was devastated knowing she won't see her grandbaby. I tried to talk to my brother, but I too was blocked. My mom passed. That was it. I stopped trying. It was too late. My mom left some fund for her grandbaby and told me to tell him about her when I get the chance. I was shocked to see my brother and his wife arriving to the funeral. I lost it when I saw them. My sister-in-law came to extend her condolences. I got into an argument with her and told them to leave. Sister-in-law said no hard feelings since I'm grieving, but I got mad. I kept yelling at them. My aunt told me to back down, but I insisted. They left, and others agreed with me, but my aunt berated me and said this behavior was disgraceful. She didn't expect this from me and said it was wrong. I feel horrible. My aunt spoke to my brother and she's been trying to get us to meet, but I keep saying no. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Not to be insensitive. They didn't honor her when she was alive, so why are they there to honor her when she's dead? Inheritance? Could also be to save face and try to keep the rest of the family on their side. Not an a-hole. OP, firstly, I am so sorry for what you are going through with losing your mom and having to deal with all this conflict. It is such a crappy position to be in. On the one hand, you have all your grief. Mom's passing, her cancer, and grieving the loss of your brother who is still alive. And the other is filled with your sister-in-law and brother hurting you even more. Your sister-in-law is out of line to say no hard feelings. To hell with her. She wants to be the hero who made amends. No, not now, not this time. You only have to deal with her when you feel ready. We had a similar conflict with my dad's passing and funeral. My mom and dad's younger brother got into a physical. I kid you not. Fist fight at the funeral. Opie, speaking from experience and a lot of hurt, please make your mental health a priority now. Take time to breathe after losing your mom. Don't allow people, like your sister-in-law, to manipulate you now to do things you don't want to. Your mom's passing is a separate issue from your sister-in-law and her made-up drama. Don't let them use "this is what mom would have wanted" as leverage to get what they want. They cannot speak on her behalf. All the best, Opie. If you need someone to process this with, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'll listen without judgment, as I've been where you are now. It's a horrible place. Not an a-hole. Your brother might be grieving, but he wasn't there for your mom while she was alive. It really hurts her and your family. Not an a-hole. I wouldn't be surprised if sister-in-law only came because she expected to get something. Nevertheless, I wouldn't even mention the money your mother left their son until he reaches 18. Then give it to him personally. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my cut of my dad's inheritance? We have a complicated history. My dad wasn't a bad guy, but wasn't necessarily a good guy either. He stepped out on his wife and hooked up with my mom once. She didn't have a clue he was married. Then I, 27 male, was born, but he had no idea. Think I was maybe 6 or 7 when she was able to track him down. So the cheating came out, and they almost divorced, but stayed together, and my dad wanted to be part of my life. He'd come around all the time, take me out, and help my mom with money. For a few years, my dad tried to include me in stuff he'd do with my half-siblings, but they didn't like me, so they bullied me a lot. I met his wife a few times, and she was just nasty and mean. So after that, he stopped trying and went back to us doing our separate thing. But when I was 14, he started pulling back with contact. I think because it was still causing problems in the marriage. And then he just stopped coming around by the time I was 15. We talked sometimes over the years. They got a divorce in the end, but he still never reached out even when I'd try. He died recently and left me a letter apologizing for how he was, and he was too ashamed to try working things out after being out of touch for so long. It also said he knows money can't make up for him not being there, but wants me to have it. I was speechless. He left a small portion for my half-sibs, but in his will, most of his money is to go to me. They're really not happy about it because they say he barely left them with anything, and they're owed that money for all the trouble this caused in their lives. But this money, it could really help with so much, like actually finishing my degree, put a down payment on a decent house, and put the rest in a retirement fund or something. My half-siblings and even their mom are coming down hard, and won't stop with the messages because I'm not willing to split what's owed to them since they were his kids too. Don't even want to repeat what they say because it makes me feel horrible. I know they're still mad about the cheating and breaking up the family. This probably feel like another slap in the face to them. It's hard because, I want to use this money for my life. But I get that coming into their life as the affair child basically made it fall apart. So I can see why to them it feels like I owe them after everything. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You owe them literally nothing. Opie's dad knew what he was doing. He left them some money so they can't complain about it not being enough unless they show their true colors by whining and being bratty. I don't think they're wrong to be pissed. Their dad cheats on their mom and ultimately they get divorced. And then the cheating dad leaves his inheritance to the kid conceived by dad? That must sting. Opie isn't an a-hole though. It's not their fault. I agree it probably would hurt. But they were financially supported their whole lives, where it sounds like dad only helped with the money for a few years with Opie. I wonder if dad helped the half-siblings with the university or other gifts later in life. This could just be Opie getting his share at the end. Not the a-hole. A will is the will. It's not your fault that he left you the amount he did, and you didn't give more to them. Not the a-hole. Your dad made the decision. The money's yours to do with what you want/wish. They are not entitled or owed anything by you. If anything, this is a karma thing, and the things they did that you probably don't know about is why things ended up the way that they are. Block, ignore, and move on. Sorry for your loss, and good luck. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for excluding my brother's kids from some family events? Context. I come from a large family, and it's considered really normal to help out or ask for help. And we often watch each other's kids, pick things up for each other, run errands, etc. I would describe us as laid back and generally low conflict. If people have an issue with something someone does, we usually address it with them privately so as not to embarrass them. The problem? One of my brothers is married to my sister-in-law, and they have kids, all under the age of 7. Sister-in-law has really specific ideas about parenting and what their kids should be allowed to do. She expects us to abide by her rules when her kids are at other family members' houses with the rest of the cousins. If the rules aren't followed, she doesn't say anything directly, but instead sends an email to the person with clear instructions on what they did wrong. The emails read like something from a boss. This happened a number of times over the years, but an event that happened last fall caused the current issues. During COVID, my mom has been babysitting the kids in our pod during the day and helping them with virtual school. Often there are 5+ kids there at a time. One of sister-in-law's rules is that her kids cannot have any food with dyes in it. No allergies, it is a general health thing. My mom forgot and gave one of her kids a popsicle during the day because everyone else was having one. The child was eating it when sister-in-law picked them up, and while she didn't say anything at the time, it was clear she was upset. My mom then received an email that began, Per our recent discussion, it was my understanding that you understood that child cannot have food with dyes in it. It then contained bullet points suggesting how she could improve. My mother was really insulted. In addition, sister-in-law carbon copied my dad. He went to their house to speak with them, and sister-in-law apologized for her communication style, but pushed back on the dye thing and wanted an apology from my mom. My mom apologized, but also no longer watches their kids regularly by her own choice. Ever since that happened, everyone is pretty cautious around them and their kids. If we are doing something that might violate her rules, we don't invite them. This is honestly most things we do because the stuff she bans, exposure to any form of violence, refined sugar, dyes, yelling, playground equipment above 5 feet, etc., are not things we have issues with, within reason, with our own kids. Recently, my brother asked me and my other siblings about it, and we were honest. We feel like we are walking in eggshells around them. He says she communicates about serious topics through email because of her anxiety disorder. He defends her behavior's mama bear tendencies and thinks we can slowly help her by being patient. We refused. Are we the a-holes for excluding my nieces/nephews? When we have big family get-togethers again, they will always be invited, but not always for other stuff. Edit. Also, just to say, my sister-in-law is often really fun/pleasant. It is really just a parenting issue that she is so controlling about. We never had issues with her before they had kids. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your brother-in-law is pulling a bait and switch. The issue is not her emails. The issue is her desire to control every single factor in her children's environment because of her anxiety. It's her responsibility to deal with her issues in therapy, and it's not your family's job to help her by being patient. Her husband should be encouraging her to get therapy instead of enabling her. If she has an issue with the food served, she should provide snacks for her children. If she has an issue with the style of play, she should find her own childcare instead of insisting everyone cater to her. every word of this. She's essentially holding the rest of the family hostage. She's also setting her kids up to go absolutely berserk when they get older. It's well known that overly stifling kids usually leads to a commensurate level of rebellion in the teenage and college years. She may mean well, but she's doing real damage. Not Daehal. People are entitled to raise their kids how they like, but cannot expect everyone to voluntarily make their lives annoying. Also, a lot of food dyes are natural. Cyanide is all natural too. Not Daehal. Mama Anxiety Bear needs to go hibernate in cotton wool world because the way she's trying to shelter her kids is unrealistic and will backfire on her one day. I pity these children. Unless you find a coven of other like-minded parents, her kids are going to be incredibly lonely and isolated. Then, when they are finally allowed out into the real world, all hell is going to break loose. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for talking to my parents about getting a lock to keep my brother and his wife from going in my room without permission? So for a little context, I, 21 female, am still having to live at home with my parents due to COVID messing up my plans for moving out. My parents are happy to still have me at home, and I'm okay living with them till I can earn enough money to move out. One of my brothers, 26 male, and his wife, 26 female, tend to visit us a lot, which I don't mind. I enjoy seeing my brother. I love him very dearly. And his wife is a really sweet lady who we all get along with really well. However, my brother has a tendency to just walk into my room, whether I am in there or not. He did this before to pet our older cat, who tended to spend most of her time in my room. And I know he loved that cat, but I also did not appreciate him just barging in without warning. He stopped doing this for a while after our old cat passed away. She will forever be missed. But I recently got 2 new kittens from a rescue because I felt like I needed a new cat to help me heal from the loss of my old cat. It has been amazing, but now my brother's tendency of barging in has gotten worse than it was before. I have repeatedly asked him to not barge in, and that if he wants to enter my room, he needs to ask for permission first and respect my answer if I tell him no. He always says sure or okay, but it is clearly in a very dismissive way. His wife will always follow him after getting an ice cream bar from our freezer and just sit on my bed with him eating. It has been 6 months of this routine by now, and I am sick of it. My room is my space to be on my own and recharge and for privacy, and they continually disrespect that. I got fed up this weekend when I was trying to get ready for a date with my boyfriend, and they just barged into my room to pet the kittens who were in there with me. I asked him to please leave and that I was trying to get ready, and he said that since I'm putting makeup on in the bathroom, why don't I just change in there too? And that he wants to pet the kittens. I gave up, got ready in the bathroom, and once I got home, I talked to my mother about getting a lock or something to put on my door so that they won't just go in, sit on my bed, and eat without my permission anymore. My brother heard about this because my dad, bless his heart, but he is oblivious sometimes, saw no issues saying we were going out to look for a lock when brother asked if we were home. Brother's now saying I'm just overreacting, that I have the kittens in there a lot of the time. They hate being away from me, so they usually follow me in there to sit on my bed and watch me as I'm doing anything in there. And he just wants to pet them. He says I'm being cruel to him and the kittens by not letting him in to pet them whenever he wants, and by apparently depriving the kittens of attention and interactions with people. I am just so sick of him and his wife barging in. But now I am starting to wonder, am I overreacting over this by looking at getting a lock to keep them out? Also, the sister-in-law never is the one who barges in. She usually just follows after brother a few minutes after he barges in himself. Edit. So someone pointed out in the comment that I should add this bit of info. When I am not there, I keep my door cracked open enough for the kittens to enter and leave the room as much as they want. And usually they go hang out with my parents and only go in my room if they need a litter box or a bite of food. I would never dream of forcing my kittens to stay cooped up in my room all alone when I'm not home. And most of the day, I also have my door cracked open for them as well, so that they can come and go as they please. Not Daehal. You would not need it if just ask permission. He is a huge jerk. It does not matter if the kittens are there or not. It's your room. Put the lock, but also install a little cat door so they can enter and out whenever they want. Edit. Hopefully OP sees this so the kitties can go in and out whenever they want. I have 2 cats, and there's nothing they hate more than a closed door. Not a-hole. If your brother is so upset about not being able to pet some kittens, he can actually go adopt some himself. Kitten season is here, I believe, and there will always be cats flooding into shelters that could use homes. Why doesn't he go get some fur babies for himself he can pet at home? You deserve your privacy, OP. Hope you get that luck and you're able to have it after all this. Also, I'm sure those kittens aren't deprived of social attention and affection. Your brother's just wanting to be an a-hole. He has an older adopted cat he got about a month ago. A fat orange boy named Ferd who is super loving and sweet. And he loves that big guy. But I think he misses having playful cats about. I think he's also worried that, since he lives in a trailer at the moment out on a farm, any kittens would not survive out there.